And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again, and I've decided to continue my dust jacket tutorial series. I know it's been a minute, but there's been a lot going on, including a global pandemic, and I got kind of sidetracked by rewatching the MCU Marvel Universe. So I thought I'd dive back into this, and specifically I thought I'd do a nice easy video for me that's going to be pretty straightforward and I can do quite unscripted. But as a result, I'm going to veer slightly off from dust jacket stuff into some other stuff that I promise you guys I talk about. There's a variety of things when you're making your custom comics that are important, blocking, spot UV, all that sort of stuff, which I'll be talking about in later videos. So today I just wanted to touch on end pages. So no further ado, let's jump into what end pages are and why they're important if you're making your custom comics. Well, what we're looking at here is Batman from the New 52. In fact, we're looking at Batman Volume 10, Epilogue by Scott Snyder. Standard size hardcover, great, let's open it up. And you'll see there, you've got the inside flap for the dust jacket, which is called a French flap, and we'll be talking about that in a later YouTube tutorial video. And what you've got here, if I move the French flap to one side, is the end pages. So here, standard, black, absolutely normal. The end pages are the pages that go on the end, on the inside of the hardcover, and then it's the first physical, flexible sheet that you get on either the front or the back of your hardcover collection. All hardcovers have these. They physically have to have these because something has to be there. And generally they're pretty generic. They're either black or they're white or they're grey or there's something like that, and that's fine. Whenever you get a custom comic made, be that a customnibus or be that a bind of existing floppies and trade paperbacks, they will have to put in end pages. Now, if you don't stipulate exactly what you want, they'll probably put in black or white or something like that, and that is absolutely fine. However, there is some nuance and some different stuff you can try. So I wanted to show people a few examples and then do a quick tutorial of how to make those examples. So to start off with, this is I Hate Fairyland, which is an image hardcover done by Scotty Young. This is book 2 of it. It's a great comic. Let's open it up, and you'll see here he's got what I call a slight feature as an end page. So what he's done here is, rather than having it as it black or white or even green, he's gone for a hot pink, and if we zoom in, we'll see that that hot pink has got this kind of pattern over it, which has got the distinctive Scotty Young artwork. So little motifs like mushrooms, stars, flowers, that sort of stuff. So it looks kind of cool and is kind of in keeping with the busy, childish artwork inside. Here's another thing that you might want to try, and this is in terms of actually a slightly broader meta-thematic way of doing your end pages. What I'm showing you now is my own personal Incredible Hulk customnibus, which is one that I had printed and made myself, and I've got other tutorial videos on how to do that, and I've got an overview of this available on my channel as well. So that's the front of it, which is issue 454 of the Incredible Hulk, drawn by Andy Kubert. Lovely cover, I absolutely loved it. I like how minimalist it is, in a way, if you consider there's no background. Let's look at the back of it. You've got jet black with just a letterbox image of the Hulk's eyes. That's fine. Let's have a look at the dust jacket as a whole. This is a dust jacket I'm really proud of, mainly because it transitions from black on the left to white on the right. And it was just something I was kind of messing around with, and actually I thought it looked really nice. I thought it was nice to have everything black on one side, and then as it transitions with the Hulk and Wolverine falling off this cliff, it then transitioned to pure white and kind of minimalist look, which is great. But what that then meant is I follow that through to my end pages in quite a subtle way. So if you open it up, you'll see here on the front, you've got the front French flap, and then you've got white end pages. So you've got this transition to the white side of the dust jacket, continuing on throughout the book with white end pages. If you look at the back of it, you've got black and then transitioning to black end pages. This is a little thing, and these are very simple end pages to put together. I literally just said, can I have black on the back and white on the front? But my point is, you can put some thought into it and have exactly what you want and see what complements your dust jacket and what complements the internal pages. Speaking of the internal pages, here's a quick glimpse of an internal filler page that I did in terms of the left-right sequencing of the pages. And I had it as a Hulkish green. And I could have had end pages that were just a Hulk green on the front and the back. But actually, I think having white on the front and black on the back, given the design of the dust jacket, worked really, really well. So that isn't necessarily a feature dust jacket, but a feature end page, but it's the sort of thing that I want you guys to think about in terms of what can add value to your own customs. Speaking of which, and I guess the point of today is to show you what I call a feature end page. So I'm going to show you here, this is my customnibus of Spider-Man, it's Peter Parker Spider-Man, and in there's some Spectacular Spider-Man as well. It's basically the Jenkins Ramos era, which I really, really enjoyed. So that's the front of it. There's videos of it on my channel. Let's flip it open and you'll see there the end pages have got this really exciting imagery. So let's move that flap out of the way. The end pages has got Eddie Brock with Venom sort of looming over him. In a confessional with a priest. So if you know anything about the comics, Eddie Brock's very religious, he's very Christian, and so this is a really interesting sort of moment in the comic. So I took that image, blew it up, made it massive, and I've used it as the end pages for the front. And as you can see here, I've also used it for the end pages on the back as well. This is what I call feature end pages. You don't have to have them. I've started using them more and more because you're paying someone to put in some paper on your custom bind or your custom bind collection or whatever you're having made. Why let them just use white or black when you can have them put something pretty cool and pretty funky that's going to add value to it? On my custom Flashpoint bind, which is my companion Flashpoint world of Flashpoint bind, I actually have some maps of the Flashpoint world as the front and back end pages. So please check out that video and see what you think. So what I thought I'd do today is I thought I'd look at another sort of notional thing you could have in your end pages. So just to give you an idea of what I picked, this is House of X Powers of 10, which is obviously a big Marvel event that happened a little while ago. And I've got 2 hardcovers of this because I'm a bit obsessive and I really wanted the Mark Brooks DM variant, which you can see here on the right. Now in terms of having the Mark Brooks DM variant, I was very keen to get it, tracked it down. It's a bit of a mission because LCS in the UK aren't necessarily brilliant. But nonetheless, what I did is I set that up. I've got both of them. And what occurred to me would be interesting would be if the end pages of one of these actually had something like, for example, the Mark Brooks artwork in it. Now, the end pages is pretty dull, as you can see here. But from my point of view, it's a case of it's really interesting to consider what we could have there. And to that end, I want to go to GIMP, which is the software that we talked about previously. So let's go to GIMP here. This is the software GIMP. I've explained about it in previous tutorials. I use it all the time. And this is an image, which is the overall image of the Mark Brooks cover, alternate cover for House of X. And this is, I just got it off the internet. So I downloaded this. Let's have a look at this. Let's see what we need to do to make this into an end page. So first things first, image size. So you go to image, scale image, and then with the scale image, first things first, set it to millimeters. It's at 300 dpi, which is a nice, good resolution. To start with, right, okay, what height and width do we need? So you want to write these numbers down, but I also have a previous tutorial video going into loads of detail about comic book page sizes. For a standard size hardcover and trade paperback, the page size is the same. And the page size is exactly 258 millimeters high, 168 millimeters across. So first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to change the height so it's 258 millimeters. Leave this thing ticked so that the page doesn't get deformed in any way. So you're 258 millimeters. That's all ticked. That's all resized. So let's scale it up and see what it looks like. Looks awesome. Right, job done. Great. So is that as done? Well, far from it. No, actually, what we need to do is we need to scale it properly. So I've scaled it to 258, which is the exact size of the page that you need. However, whenever you're getting something bound, you need to have a little bit of bleed, which is what I consider to be wiggle room at the top or bottom. Because if you're cutting something, you try it yourself, try cutting something correct to the 100th of the millimeter. It's incredibly difficult to do. So if you can give your binder a millimeter or two wiggle room top and bottom, left and right, they will really thank you for it. So in this case, I've gone from 258 millimeters. I'm going to change it so it's 260 millimeters because that'll make it easier for the person putting this together to do that. And here we are. Basically looks the same. Great. So in terms of the image now, again, going back to the size of it, let's have a look. How wide is it? It's 354 millimeters wide. Now, I said that a comic page is 168 millimeters wide. If you double that up for a 2-page spread, which is what this is, that's 336 millimeters. Well, obviously, this is too wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp and deform the image a bit. Now, to do that, just uncheck that box so that link isn't together. And I'm going to change this to 336. But remember, you want to add a couple of millimeters as bleed. So I'm going to change it to 338. Okay, and then I'm going to scale that. That looks okay. That actually doesn't look bad. It's not badly deformed. There's no problems. If, for example, it was badly deformed, what you need to do is you need to crop it a little bit and trim off maybe a bit of the left and the right to make that work. Now, I'm not going to do that here because obviously you've got really important logos in the bottom corners, but that's something that you might need to do if the image you have is so wide that when you squish it together, or so narrow that when you expand it, it looks really weird. So just keep that in mind, guys. From my point of view, this looks absolutely fine. So let's have a look at our image again. Let's look at the scale of it. Looking nice. It's 338 by 260, and that's going to allow the binder to crop it to 336 wide by 258 tall. So you're going to have perfect end pages for your comic. However, that's what I would normally do, by the way. I would normally just have that on a file. I would give that to my guy and be like, can I have that as the end page? The end. Awesome, sorted. However, I can imagine there's going to be some people in the comments below, or some people that are following these videos, that might be interested in just doing sort of one of the end pages at the front and one of the end pages at the back. In other words, just having a single page that's a feature page rather than having a double page spread that's a feature page. So I thought I'd quickly go into how that would work. Well, what we need to do is we're going to need to crop this halfway. So in terms of cropping it halfway, that means cropping it sort of down the line there, but you want to do this precisely, you want to do this perfectly. And the way to do that is to look at your measurements, and what we have here is measurements of 3071 pixels high, and we're staying in pixels, remember, and then in terms of width, 3992 pixels wide. So if you want to halve it, the height stays the same, but the width needs to go by a half. So half of 3992 is 1996. Don't act like you're not impressed by my maths. And in terms of cutting that and cropping that, do not do it here. Leave this all entirely alone. What we need to do is go to Tools, Selection Tools, Rectangle Select, and I'm going to copy what I call the LHS, or the left-hand side. So let's say you want to do just the front inside end page, and you just want one page there. There you are, crop it there. Now, first things first, how does this work? Well, this bit can go anywhere. No one cares, it doesn't matter. As long as it's outside the image, that's fine. Similarly here, as long as that's outside the image, fine. And at the top, as long as that's outside the image. The one that matters is the one here. So here, you can see this is one that's going to vary. So what I would strongly recommend... Oh, no, my mistake. Actually, this needs to be set to 0. Apologies. So I can either zoom in and set that to 0 manually, so it's right up against the line, or I can just do it physically here, which is this button here, position. So you set that position to 0, so that's where it sort of sets off. And then for this one, you want this at 1996. And again, just moving that up with the individual arrows pixel by pixel. So there you are, we have our perfect left-hand side image. So if I go to image, crop to selection, boom. I would send that to my guy and be like, right, this is what I want as the front inside page end, or whatever, end page or whatever. And in terms of making the one on the other side, just undo the crop image there, and again, let's go to Tools, Selection, Rectangle Select, and here, draw it here. Again, the top and the bottom absolutely don't matter. The right hand side actually in this case doesn't matter at all either. All that matters is the left hand side. And in terms of the left hand side, we just need to set this again to 1996. See, maths is important. And then this bit definitely doesn't matter because you'll see the number that is changing over here, but that makes no bearing at all to where this line is and how that is being tracked through. So leave those three alone, that is fine. Image, crop to selection, ta-da, there we are. And then you would have that as file 2, and you would send that to your guy and be like, yeah, I want this as the rear image for the page leaves at the back of the book. That's if you want to make a feature page leaf. There's lots of different ways of doing it, lots of different things. As always with tutorial series, I'm not being exhaustive because I can't be exhaustive. I have neither the time nor the inclination to do that, but at the same time, I do want you guys to get an idea as to what options are available and hopefully inspire you and give you a bit of a handle as to what you can do and how you can do it, and actually how easy a lot of this is. I hope that was useful, guys. I'm going to throw down a few more videos as the quarantine goes on because obviously I'm still locked down and finding it hard to find employment given the quarantine situation and everything else. So I'll try and make some more videos and some more content, keep you guys interested. As always, please support the channel. Please like, comment, subscribe. Please share these videos more widely. And please head over to Amazon.com. You can pick up the first episode of my prose novel about superheroes for free if you're on Amazon Kindle Unlimited. And if not, it's less than $1 anyway. Please pick that up and let me know what you think. Links are in the description below. And until next time, guys, stay classy.